What is up, everybody, and welcome to CTW Live. I am your host, Seamus Zarlingo. Alongside of me tonight, Nick, Franco, and Rob Haytayan. Everybody, welcome on in to the show. Folks, how are we doing tonight? Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I'm good. You know, late night in August. You know, it's a little cool where I am. So, you know, summer vibes.
I'm preparing for winter cold already, I gotta say. I'm sweating. I've been sweating all day. We're on these lives a little late here. Kind of reminds me of October, November, December, January a little bit.
I got the football season coming up, Halloween.
Oh,
you know, I'm
there
for it.
I did get my first pumpkin beer tonight, so
there. Hey, what else can you ask for?
No, and that's definitely on brand for what we'll be talking about today. But later in the program, of course, with some of the schedule leaks, we'll be talking about October in this live quite a bit with all of these schedule leaks coming out in the NBA universe. However, we have to get to some news stories around Celtic Nation first before we really get to around the league and everywhere else. This one coming from the NBA Communications Twitter. Per the NBA Communications Twitter, the NBA Board of Governors has approved the sale of the Boston Celtics to a group led by Bill Chisholm. So obviously we knew this news was coming. Months ago, it was reported by Shams Charania and ESPN that Bill Chisholm would be purchasing the Boston Celtics for $6.1 billion. And now that sale is finally complete. And it's complete a lot sooner than we thought. Yesterday, it was announced Bill Chisholm would become the outright owner, the outright governor of the Celtics soon, right? Over Rick Grosbeck. Rick Grosbeck would not assume that position and not serve as governor through 2028, but rather Bill Chisholm would. And it was termed as soon, when the sale would be final, right? Whenever the sale would be final, it would be soon. Well, we didn't know it was going to be this soon. The next day it was. And this is the news we have coming out. The sale of the Boston Celtics finally complete. So the Celtics changing ownership hands right in front of our eyes, right over the summer. I mean, 1 year ago, the Celtics, it had only been a story for a month. The Celtics were about to sell. And now here we are a year later. The Celtics have officially been purchased by Bill Chisholm for $6.1 billion. And Bill Chisholm now assumes full governor role, assumes the full governor role of the Boston Celtics moving forward. And it's not the only ownership story in New England and the Boston area right now. This is per the Boston Globe. This was a couple weeks ago. Steve Pagliuca, who of course is a minority owner of the Boston Celtics, but a Steve Pagliuca-led group reaches a deal to buy the Connecticut Sun. But the WNBA cool on potential move to Boston. So Steve Pagliuca, he wants to provide $100 million for a new practice facility for the Sun and wants to move the team to Boston. However, the WNBA governors and owners must approve that relocation from Uncasville, Connecticut to Boston in order to fulfill Steve Pagliuca's vision. So ownership very changing hands up in the New England area right now, both between the Celtics and the Connecticut Sun, as Franco seems to be. Franco, do you want to? Did we talk about? Have we discussed this cat on stream yet? Have we done it?
Do you want to?
Have we done it? Can you bring them on stream? At least bring them. At least use them for content tonight. All right.
Say hello.
Doing what he's done to you tonight. At least use them for content. All right, at the very least. That's the Jaylen Brown cat. See, look, the black Rovers and all, the white leg sleeves and the jersey. And look, you could even say the mask, right? When Jaylen Brown wore the mask back in 2023, right? The little mask.
The black mask. Okay, I see the.
So wait, so that's who, Franco? Introduce that little furry creature for everybody. Who is that?
Millie. Millie is her name.
Franco's got mixed opinions.
Millie, not Millie's, but Millie. Millie.
Yeah, he's got mixed opinions on the cat.
And I'll say this: Franco does not own this cat in the same way that Bill Chisholm now owns the Boston Celtics.
Cat's named Millie, but I would sell it for $1.
Frank, there's a Francoism, folks. There's a Francoism. Put it on a shirt. I put it on a shirt. Put it on a shirt. But Franco, you don't own that cat like Bill Chisholm owns the Boston Celtics now. And of course, Franco, you and I discussed the ownership transfer of the Boston Celtics the other day on CTW Live. However, Rob, I feel like you have some interesting opinions and takes on this ownership transfer between Whit Grosbeck and Bill Chisholm. What do you think about this recent sale of the Boston Celtics and now becoming final?
Yeah, it's a little weird because, originally planned, you had the report that Whit Grosbeck would be the sitting governor of the Celtics for at least 4 or 3 seasons up until that 2028 season where they would eventually hand it over to Bill Chisholm. And now you're getting conflicting reports saying that they're going to share it or that it's going to be a majority of Chisholm. So on that front, I'm a little confused. I think a lot of Celtics fans are confused on that front, on what exactly is going on behind the scenes of the Celtics management. In terms of my thoughts on Chisholm running the Boston Celtics, it's too early to tell. And unfortunately, that's the lazy answer to this question and the thoughts. And I wish I could give you guys a little bit more, but I think where Celtics fans should be at and where we should be at is kind of just wait and see. A complete takeover of Franco's room right now is what we're.
I gotta say, Franco's face right after the cat just walks right in front of the screen. I mean, that is classic. Oh, and we're back. We're back. Now this time, this cannot be blamed on Franco. This cannot be blamed on Franco right here. Back in January and February, we could blame it on Franco. We got to use the duct tape. All right, use the duct tape. The suction wasn't working. Now it's
duct tape has been standing strong until that cat proved it otherwise.
Right. I was gonna say now you can blame it on the cat.
Now,
it's like the dog ate homework.
Now she's lost her. Now she's going out. She's out.
Lock it.
No, so CTW Live, that's actually Cat Talk Weekly Live. That's what it stands for. Now this picture right there, that okay, when this is advertised, I expect that picture right there. Okay, when this is advertised, when this live is advertised, we got plenty of time on here for when Frank
There you go, Franco.
That'll be the picture. That'll be the picture.
Way to be the glue guy. Way to be the utility
man. That was a
man.
very fatherly move. I mean, that was very. I mean, ladies, look at that. I mean, look at that. Put that clip on your LinkedIn. Oh yeah. And your Tinder. Oh yeah.
In need of a cat sitter. I know a guy.
No.
But yeah, essentially that's kind of where I'm at with this sale, and it's kind of a wait and see type of thing with Chisholm. I got hope. I mean, he's a guy that, one, I think a real important aspect, and I hate to get to the nitpicky of these guys back their careers and their backstories, but Chisholm's a self-made billionaire, and I do think that's worth something when you look at owners and their spending habits. Was Chisholm made it on his own. And, he's a guy that is a homegrown Celtics fan. He likes the Celtics, and I think he wants to see the Celtics win. So I think he's thrown into a particular unusual spot, right? When you're, $400 million player, $300 million player is out with a torn Achilles for a season. Obviously, things are going to look different. Expectations are going to change overnight, like we saw. But I do think it's a wait and see type of thing. I think there are going to be moves that, are made from Chisholm side of things, but I'm not necessarily worried that it's going to change the trajectory of the Celtics, because quite frankly, I think that trajectory is set in stone, whether it was Wick or whether it was Chisholm. I think the real effects of the Bill Chisholm ownership group is going to come in, and we'll see it in 2-3 years. Once Tatum's back and once there is an opportunity to potentially get back to the NBA Finals, I think that is when this whole thing will kind of come to fruition, and we'll really see what Chisholm's about. And obviously, I think it'll be interesting to see what role Wick plays. Right? Is he out of the equation now? Is he working alongside Chisholm? Who gets the final say? Obviously, Chisholm's got the money in it, right? How much stake is Chisholm really going to give to Wick? You just don't know. So again, it's kind of a wait and see type of thing. I hopefully that's not a lazy answer, but I think that's kind of where I'm at with this whole ownership group.
No, I think that's pretty much the perfect answer right there, because everything we can say about what Bill Chisholm is about to do with the Celtics is all speculation, right? It's all he could be this, he could be that. Right. It's all speculation. Nothing is concrete yet. But from what we do have in terms of information, right? Does it concern you guys just a little bit about how the story has changed, right? Because initially it was, and we've seen this with other ownership groups such as the Dallas Mavericks and Mark Cuban, how he was supposed to stay on as governor just as Wick Grosbeck was supposed to, yet 3 months after Shams initially drops the news, or more than 3 months after Shams initially drops the news of the Celtics selling to Bill Chisholm and Wick Grosbeck staying on as governor, we get a tweet saying otherwise the day before the sale is made final. The day before the sale's
Right.
made final, we find out, oh, Wick Grosbeck, he's not going to have as big of a role. He might have some level of a role, but not as big of a role in the Celtics in his tenure that's ultimately left inside the organization. Does that tidbit of information, should that concern us a little bit, or is there really nothing to read out of that?
Well, I don't know about you, Franco, or Seamus, but to me, I'm not surprised because I was a little surprised when I read that Wick was going to be on board for that long, right? You got Chisholm, who just spent, $6 billion on this franchise, taking over. And Seamus, I remember we were on live and you said this, and it was speculation at the time, and maybe it's coming to fruition now. But like, when you're an owner, right, you got your fingerprints all over a team, right? You kind of want to feel like this is your creation. And now I think Chisholm's in a situation where he kind of realizes, okay, it's not out of the realm of possibility to put my fingerprints on a championship team and to deliver in a new way, right? Because you have these guys that were Wick-born guys, the Porzingis, the Holiday, right? That core is not here anymore. So I think what you're seeing is Chisholm kind of realizing, like, listen, I have an opportunity here to build something of my own. And I'm not really surprised. When you spend $6 billion on a franchise, that's going to happen. I will say, I will preface this. I don't know where you're at, Franco, but I think it's a weird dynamic that you agree to something and then you're going back on that. And is that signs what's to come? A lot of questions, but I do think it's weird that they switched. But at the same time, it's pretty understandable. I think the more surprising thing was that was even ever agreed on behind closed doors to begin with.
When you are purchasing the Boston Celtics, it is not just a entity. It is not just another business venture. It is not something you are just doing as another investment. When you are going into a storied franchise and also such an established organization, and if we want to look at it as owners, a business in the capital city of Boston, who is one of the top leading franchises within the city and probably the highest grossing revenue maker amongst entertainment within the city of Boston, you are purchasing a team that is going to take on a little bit more of a life than it would look like on paper. You are inheriting years and decades, 18 banners of legacy when you are buying the Boston Celtics. So seeing the legacy turnover is definitely something that was going to be expected. And I guarantee, even when Wick is quote unquote out of the contract, he's still going to, no matter what. I'm sure there was something within the deal. He still has shares with within the business and also within the organization. So his 2 cents doesn't just go completely out the door. However, it is all completely signed off by Bill Chisholm. So and Bill Chisholm would probably not be going into this position if he wasn't entrusted by Wick, because Wick wouldn't be selling this team just to flip a few dollars after a couple of years. Because if you look at what he grew the Boston Celtics from, I believe he bought it for, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to think back to the documentary, around $600 million back in in the 2000s. Yeah, 2002, and has been able to grow it to something that has become $6.1 billion. If that's what he's seeing it as a flip as, he's been calculating that for years. He's had the plan within his mind for years and has had some sort of succession. Didn't know who was going to buy it, but there will definitely be some succession. And it also looks forward to the city for the city of Boston, because as we tie in the other story we presented earlier, the Steve Pagliuca bought the Connecticut Sun and are moving the Connecticut Sun to Boston, which means there is going to potentially, but I would
It should
almost
happen.
guarantee
Come
it,
on.
because
What, the
well,
WNBA
no,
governor is going to say, "Oh, no, you guys have to stay in Uncasville, Connecticut. You can't
and
move up to
Come to
the
Boston.
Right.
billion-dollar market of Boston."
right, and
You can't.
also the politicians of Boston are pushing for this heavily. You think of all the other events that are happening, you hear the swirling around any of the senators, the governors, any of the mayors talking about making city a home city for the next year. FIFA World Cup is coming to Boston, which is it already has connections to the major stadium developments that are happening in Boston when they're building a new soccer stadium there. So it wouldn't cross my mind that they are looking at adding a second arena and entertainment area to Boston.
Well, so I just have a quick thought too, and just going right back to the Chisholm thing, into the dynamic with Wick. And my mind thinks, and I don't know why it goes there, but I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Founder about Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers and the Founder.
Yeah.
Amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. One of my all-time favorites. But in that movie, at the end, he tells the Kroc brother or the McDonald's brothers, like, it's a handshake deal, right? And he screws them over. And it can't, my brain kind of starts to spiral. It's like, is this between Wick and Chisholm? Is this a handshake deal, right? Oh yeah, you can go, be the governor, right? I'll listen to you. It's just a thought, right? Like, is this written in the contract? Is this a handshake deal? How does that dynamic work? So I think it's interesting. Hopefully more comes out about it. But my brain kind of goes there, where it's like, I'm not saying Chisholm's Ray Kroc and screw them over, but a connection and interesting dynamic at that.
100%. And I think when those types of transfers happen, it's a transfer of power, right? And nobody
Right.
really transfers power seamlessly, right? Unless they're transferring power over when they're retiring, right? Or they're
Right.
quitting on their own and they're going, okay, I'm going out of this on my own. Wick Grosbeck, that's also the thing about this sale is it's not a sale where Wick Grosbeck himself, right, is selling the team. It was Wick Grosbeck's father who
Right.
wanted the team sold. So
That's
in this
Wick. He would've
instance, right, Wick is thinking, well, even though the team's sold, is there a way for me to maintain my position of power?
Right.
And that's what we're seeing too with the Lakers. I mean, Jeannie Buss just sold the Lakers to Mark Walter. Same ordeal is going to happen there. Jeannie Buss is supposed to stay on. Not
She's
going to
gonna
happen.
linger around still.
She'll linger around, but she's not. And I hate to say it, but I don't think Jeannie Buss was making a ton of decisions with the Lakers anyway. I'm sure she was in on all of the decisions. But I mean, Rob Pagliuca. I mean, she seemed like an owner that was fairly hands off. Like, yes, every owner is informed, but she seemed more like a hands off owner than some owners around the league and other. We talked about yesterday the National Football League a little bit. Some owners over there. Same thing will happen with the Lakers. We just saw it happen with the Mavs. With the Celtics, it's no different. I mean, that's a every time I see this, I'm witnessing it with the St. Louis Cardinals right now, where when you're entrenched in this glorious fan base and this esteemed organization, right, in the Celtics, it's hard to sometimes picture that the Celtics are just like every other NBA team, right? Because there is a difference between the Celtics and the Kings, the Celtics and the Suns, the Celtics and the Pelicans, right? There's a difference when you play in Boston versus when you play in New Orleans. There's just a massive difference. But at the same time, when you're talking about the components and the movement of what's happening, we're talking about the ownership shifting from one side to the other, I mean, the Celtics, they go through the exact same thing as, say, a team like the Pelicans would go through in this sort of instance. So that's always something that we sometimes I feel as if, like, remember when this whole thing was announced, right? The whole Celtics, the Bill Chisholm was going to come in and buy the Celtics back the beginning of this year. NBC Sports Boston did a special where they interviewed Wick Grosbeck and Bill Chisholm. I almost said Steve Pagliuca. Again, I'm just Steve Pagliuca. he bought the Sun, folks. He bought the Sun. I keep mixing these guys up. I'm like, who's owning what right now in Boston? Just who's owning what here? Too many owners like right now. We'll get it straight one day. But Wick Grosbeck and Bill Chisholm, they were in an interview together with NBC Sports Boston, and it was very much. It almost felt like Wick. I don't know what movie to compare this to, or what scene to compare this to, or what kind of life moment, but Wick was basically, he's on the outs. I mean, we knew he was on the outs, and he's in that interview like, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine, guys. I'm going to be gone, but this new guy, he's going to take over just fine, just fine. Everything's going to be fine. And that interview just kind of stuck out to me as, all right, these are two different people, right? Like, how often are they going to work together? And it was very much the tone of the interview was, yeah, Wick is eventually going to be out the door and Chisholm's going to be the one leading everything in Boston. And just from that interview back in, I want to say it was February, March range. I mean, it was right when the sale was announced on Twitter and in the news cycle. That interview right there was just it felt a little uncomfortable, right? It didn't feel like, oh, this is going to be a partnership over time. Yet it was advertised in that way, right? And part of the point here is with that interview, NBC Sports Boston, which is, obviously very Celtics friendly, right? Very pro Celtics. NBC Sports Boston and the Celtics community, the media community, was all pointing, oh, Chisholm's going to be just as good as Wick, and just as it was propaganda, right? And you could see through during the interview, you could go, okay, Wick, he's advertising that this is going to be okay. NBC Sports Boston, they're advertising this is going to be okay. And yet the whole vibe of the interview was very, we don't like Wick is, they're not going to be a partnership, and we don't really know what's going to happen when ownership really does change hands. And that's, again, just leads us back around to the beginning of all of the speculation of what could happen, because the comparison I make is the can of possibilities, right? It was in the corner, it was shielded. Things were over that can of possibility. It was never open. It was in the corner. It was protected. Nobody was ever opening that thing, right? The can of negative possibilities. Now that can of possibilities is wide open in the middle of the floor, and everybody's moving around, and we're going, all right, don't spill it. I mean, that's where the Celtics are with their ownership group right now. And again, I'll make that comparison because the last 20 plus years, the Celtics organization ran under competent organizational ownership. And now that's up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen with Bill Chisholm. But what we do know is some games on the Celtics schedule next year. All right, starting with preseason, a couple of leaked games here. We have quite a few leaked games actually. 11 leaked games on the 2025-26 Boston Celtics schedule. This is the preseason schedule. Here's how it reads. On October 8th, the Celtics travel down to Memphis for an 8 p.m. game against the Memphis Grizzlies to start out their preseason, their 2025 preseason. They start out against the Grizzlies. Then the Celtics go to Toronto on October 10th for a 7 p.m. game at Scotiabank Arena. Those first two games will be on NBC Sports Boston. Actually, the entire Celtics preseason schedule, for those listening here and not on the visual broadcast, every single preseason game will be on NBC Sports Boston. But the Celtics go down to Memphis on October 8th, go up to Toronto on October 10th, and then on October 12th, the Celtics come home to the TD Garden for a game against the Cleveland Cavaliers before they meet up with the Toronto Raptors again at the TD Garden. That game will be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern to conclude the preseason, and that game against the Cleveland Cavaliers will be at 7 p.m. Again, all games on NBC Sports Boston. So this Celtics preseason schedule, it was actually leaked a month ago. We had this information a month ago, but might as well tie it in when we're talking about all of these other games. These were more of the headliners. This is opening week, some of the national TV games. These are not actually, the first one is the tip-off schedule on Tuesday, October 21st, the Rockets and the Thunder. That'll be, we know that game well, folks. We know that game well. The Celtics were playing in that game last year. That's banner night for the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the headliner for Celtic Nation on here, Friday, October 24th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, the Boston Celtics take on the New York Knicks on Amazon Prime. How about that, folks? Amazon Prime. So no more TNT. It'll be ESPN, NBC/Peacock, and then, of course, Amazon Prime. So the Celtics Now, it's not clear whether or not this will be the Celtics' first game, but the Celtics will be playing the Knicks at Madison Square Garden on Friday, October 24th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Amazon Prime. And then another leaked game, this is the second week of the season, almost opening week, and it straddles the line of opening week. But this comes from Gary Washburn. In addition to the Celtics games that have been announced, also hearing Cavaliers at Celtics on October 29th. So we have that from Gary Washburn. But then when we move into the NBA Cup schedule, a lot to look at right here. We'll take a second. Everybody can marinate in this, but we're going to focus at the top on the Celtics schedule. East Group B, which the Celtics will be in a group, an NBA Cup group with the Detroit Pistons, the Orlando Magic, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Philadelphia 76ers. So some rivals in there, maybe the Magic, the Nets, the Sixers, some rivals in there for the Celtics in this East Group B. But here's who the Celtics will be playing Friday, or rather in the NBA Cup. Here's who the Celtics will be playing in the NBA Cup. Friday, October 31st. So on Halloween, the Celtics will be traveling to Philadelphia for a 7 p.m. game against the Sixers. That'll be on Amazon Prime. The next Friday, so Friday and Wednesday seems to be the NBA Cup games. Last year, I believe it was on Friday. Did they have Tuesday and Friday last year? I don't exactly remember, but it looks like Friday and Wednesday this year for the NBA Cup. The next Friday after Halloween, November 7th, the Celtics take on the Magic at Orlando. That'll be a 7 p.m. game. No TV date listed for that, or no TV destination, rather, listed for that game. And then the Friday afterwards, or rather 2 Fridays, 2 weeks from that, November 7th date. On November 21st, the Celtics will travel home to take on the Brooklyn Nets at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. No TV destination for that one. And then on Wednesday, November 26th, the
Around
Celtics.
Thanksgiving.
Yep, that'll be the day before Thanksgiving, actually. That should be the day before Thanksgiving, if I'm not mistaken, right there. 'Cause Thanksgiving, the last Thursday in November, that'll be November 27th. This game is on November 26th. The Celtics will be taking on the Detroit Pistons at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN at the TD Garden. That'll wrap up the Celtics group stage schedule in the NBA Cup before any playoff games, any tournament games are scheduled for the Celtics if need be. However, more games on the Celtics schedule later on in the season. This is the final game we have to release here. The Celtics are playing on MLK Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, on Monday, January 19th. The Celtics will be taking on the Detroit Pistons in Detroit on NBC in Peacock at 8 p.m. Eastern. So those are all the games, folks. And let's actually flash this one too. This is the West group play schedule for the NBA Cup. The Celtics not involved in this one. All of those before this, every single game before this one, all Celtics games except for some of those MLK Day opening week games. But this one, the West NBA Cup group play schedule. We'll let everybody marinate with that one for a second, as we'll be talking about the Celtics and their newly released games, the 11 newly released games, looking at the schedule and how it all shook out, right? What do we think? What do we think so far? I feel as if the Celtics the respect is there for the big market. Okay, the respect is there. There's an opening week game on ESPN, MLK Day, right? There's some primetime games in the NBA Cup schedule there, right? But otherwise, no Christmas Day game for the Boston Celtics. All right, no Christmas Day game, no opening night game for the Celtics, which is not too surprising. That the opening night games are pretty hard to get unless you win a championship or you're the Lakers, right? But outside of that, the Celtics, maybe I would say with Tatum out of the lineup, we haven't seen the whole schedule yet. Maybe these games so far indicate a couple less national TV appearances for the Celtics this season. What do you guys think about all of these league games so far?
I got some thoughts on this. First, I think the NBA is just ignoring the Eastern Conference this year. Yes. I think they're going to promote the West as much as they can. Christmas, there's 4 Western Conference matchups.
Well, there's 12 more marketable teams in the West.
Yes, in the West. I mean, if you look at the West, they're younger. The teams are better. It's just the West is marketable right now. The East is not In terms of the Celtics side of things, this is interesting because there's two factors here on my thoughts. One, you aren't the defending champs anymore, right? You don't get that opening night game. You aren't the spotlight headline prime time matchup, right? The defending champs versus SGA, the defending champs versus the Lakers, the defending champs versus the, Wemby. Like, that's out of the equation. You are now the 2024 NBA champ, right? There's not anything else other than that. The second aspect is, well, the potential and debatable face of the NBA in your franchise, that's not debatable, is out for the whole year. So you factor those two things in. I think, again, you're going to need to see the whole schedule. How many primetime games are there? Because the Celtics are still a big market without Jason Tatum, but with no Tatum, and you're not the defending champs, get ready, Celtics fans. I think we had 35 primetime games last year. I think that number is going to drop down to the 19, 20 area. Because again, you aren't the defending champs, and your star player is probably out for the whole year. You're going to get treated a little bit different. You're going to get put on the back burner. But I think the whole East is getting treated differently, and I think the whole East is going to be put on the back burner. So, again, those couple of things, I think, I'm not surprised. I'm excited, though. You got a couple good games, Celtics Knicks, to open up the season. That's always fun. We've had some classics last year, the banner night. We blew them out of the water. 2021-22, Jaylen Brown goes for 40 in MSG. Smart sends it overtime. That's always a fun matchup, no matter who's playing. So I don't know about you, Franco, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any type of way to start off a season, it's with the New York Knicks after what happened. You
get
can
right back at it.
Right back at
it.
All
right, here we go again.
Yeah, and obviously it's going to be a completely different look. And the thing that I'm not going to really dissect most of the schedule until the whole thing is laid out in front of me, and then I'm sure we will come on to a live or onto a recording and run
I can already tell you how it's going to be. We're going to be like, oh, we have a back-to-back West Coast right here, and then we go right into this game, and this is going to be the trap game, and it's the Raptors, and here we go, and the Kings, and oh my goodness, 500 stretch. That's all. I'm already telling y'all, that's exactly how that live is going to go. We're going to be picking out all they're going 1-3 right here, and they're going 4-0 on this trip because here's where they turn it up.
Yep, and that will be a fun one, and it's. The main thing I really pulled from this is looking at the groupings for the NBA Cup. As we've mentioned before, the Celtics aren't viewed as contenders going into the season. Obviously, missing Jason Tatum, missing your star player going into next year, and also the key departures that you face. You're looking at a year that a NBA Cup is a little bit more within grasp and is kind of your
as Celtics fans. Are we on the NBA Cup's actually a good addition train? Is that?
I mean, shoot, that a win's a win whenever you can get it.
We should really call it the Peasantry Cup. I think that would be a better name for it.
Right, but
the NBA Peasantry Cup.
But if you're
the Bucks and the Lakers, they've won the last 2 years. The NBA Peasants.
Yeah, but if the Celtics ended up winning that, it kind of creates a little type of motivation and kind of proves a little bit of Jaylen Brown has been able to carry out this team, and it's a good sign, and that means the team's trending in a good direction, especially with Jason Tatum still out. And any signs of optimism we will take during next season, especially early on during next season, especially if we're seeing some of the role players start to click and we're seeing these guys perform above expectations. But looking at the play-in tournament, you're looking at teams like Orlando and Detroit, and I believe Brooklyn is the other team. And who is there a fifth, or is it just four? For the
there's five.
And
Pistons, Magic, Brooklyn, Philly.
So yeah, I mean, looking at next year, three of those teams are teams that you can raise an eyebrow at and be like they can potentially perform against us. You look at Philly, obviously, Philly's been a firestorm, and we are yet to, with the latest developments on Embiid, that is something to also take into consideration when it comes into that. But looking at the Philadelphia 76ers,
Not let me talk about Embiid right now. Don't even go down that path.
that is they're a team that isn't going to be as bad as they were last year. Obviously, they're on a decline and things are not looking as bright, but they are just not going to be a team or that is going to be at the bottom of the barrel again, unless Joel Embiid is turning out a lot worse than what is expected. And then you also look at Detroit and Orlando, two young teams, and Orlando only got better this offseason, adding Desmond Bane and adding a few other players to their bench and keeping Mo Wagner, and he's coming back from injury. Jalen Suggs coming back from injury. So the Orlando Magic are going to be a team that's going to be a top contender heading into next season. And then the Detroit Pistons, likewise with them, they're a team that showed promise throughout last year's playoffs. It gave the Knicks a run for their money and are a team that are looking just about the same. Not too many departures and additions that really fluctuate the fate of them. Just really swapping out role players. Malik Beasley, they brought in Duncan Robinson to replace him, and recently Javonte Green, and I'm sure there's more additions that they made, but the Brooklyn Nets are a mess of a team. So
They're going to be the team that beats us in the NBA Cup. I can already.
Hey,
right now you're like, wow, look at all these
five,
formidable opponents. We'll beat every single one of them, and you're like, the Nets, they're a mess. And all of a sudden, Michael Porter goes for 40. And
5 first-round picks. All in. Hey, one of them might
like
work out.
Demon just could not miss. Like that's what on draft night. Sometimes you gotta put the player's name.
Danny Wolf lights us up.
Put the players' names in a position of where they'll be in the NBA. Like, can you imagine a world in November where we're sitting and watching the NBA Cup and Egor Demon and Nolan Traore and Danny Wolf, they're just lighting us up. I just don't see it. Ben Serif to Michael Porter Jr. It's like I don't know if that's gonna happen. It's like at least we have Jaylen Brown. I mean, I feel like people sometimes think we're gonna be on the level of the Nets. It's like Serif to MPJ. Is that like Brown to Keita? Is that much worse? Is that? I mean, is that worse? I mean, it's not. It's better. That's what it is.
No. But it's still it's much more competitive. I mean, if we went into last year and you bring up those teams and after winning the championship, you'd look at all 4 of those teams and being like, oh, okay, the Celtics are going to advance out of their group without any issues. Now you're looking at each one of those matchups and you really got to dissect it. And there's going to be a lot of games that the Celtics should win next year that they end up losing, and there's going to be a lot of games that the Celtics should lose, but they end up winning.
And that's probably going to be the theme of the Celtics next season that's when you're the Celtics are projected to be a middle of the road team. That's usually where the middle of the road teams fall in, right? We beat this contender this night, then all of a sudden you're losing to the 13th seed another night. But Rob, you mentioned the East getting no respect in the schedule release and all the national TV games. Here's the Christmas Day schedule per Shams Charania. And well, we already know this from the NBA communications, Twitter, and everything the NBA has been releasing lately. But the NBA Christmas Day schedule on ABC and ESPN per sources, the Cleveland Cavaliers take on the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden to start the day. Then the San Antonio Spurs travel to the defending champions home, the Oklahoma City Thunder's arena, for the second game of the day. Third game of the day, KD and LeBron, the Rockets at the Lakers out in LA. And then Cooper Flagg takes on Steph Curry, the Mavericks at the Warriors. This might be the first Flagg Curry game, right? We don't know. We don't know yet. We are just speculating here. We don't know. But then to cap off the day on Christmas, the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. The Timberwolves travel to Denver, and that's I was thinking about this the other day. Is that the most heated rivalry in the NBA right now? The Timberwolves and the Nuggets feels like it. I don't know if we can find another. It used to be the Celtics and the Heat, but the Heat have fallen off, and now the Celtics have done the same, of course. But the Christmas Day schedule, what sticks out to me on this schedule? All right, obviously the two East teams at the beginning and no other East teams throughout the schedule. We have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 West teams and 2 East teams on Christmas. But what I also notice about the schedule, where is Giannis? Where is Giannis? Giannis is still a top 2 player in the NBA, and the NBA isn't going to showcase him on one of their most popular days when it comes to ratings of the entire season. The most popular day of ratings for the entire season. The NBA isn't going to throw up Giannis. I mean, just think, LeBron. LeBron's been a top 2 talent forever in the NBA. I mean, I know we think of LeBron nowadays as a lesser player, but for how many years was LeBron at least a top 2 player, if not the best player in the league? Could you imagine the NBA leaving a player the caliber of LeBron off the Christmas Day schedule? That's basically what they're doing to Giannis. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I feel like it's a little.
I mean, who would you match him up
Does the
against
NBA
in the
own some
East?
validity? Because the Bucks, right? The Bucks were not on the Christmas Day schedule last year either. Giannis did not play on Christmas. I mean, that's 2 years in a row Giannis isn't playing on Christmas. I'm trying to think in 2023 if he played or not. At least it's 2 in a row. We know it's at least 2 in a row. But the NBA, these are the little moments where they shoot themselves in the foot and they don't showcase their top stars. And I will say this. You don't see the Sixers on Christmas this year. You don't see the Celtics because both of those teams had their Christmas cards revoked. Right
And
after
the
the seasons,
Pacers.
they had revoked. Yep, the Pacers too. We'd probably be seeing the Pacers and the
Yes,
Celtics on Christmas
so
if
we would be
the
seeing.
Achilles of Halliburton and Tatum didn't go. But the Bucks, should they get their Christmas card back? It's been revoked, but Giannis not showing him on Christmas, I feel like that's a little that's the NBA shooting themselves in the foot yet again. Just a singular day in their ratings in the schedule of the NBA, but that's a big ratings day. There's no Giannis. Just no Giannis.
I feel like Milwaukee's in a situation where they're that bad. Like, I hate to say it, and I get it. It's like, yeah, it's Giannis, but it's Milwaukee's market, and it's
Second
like,
most marketable person's Turner.
But I look at a team like Cleveland, right? And I go, well, what makes me think the Cavs are going to be so much better than the Bucks just because they were better than the Bucks all of last season? I mean, we pinpointed the Cavs as, oh, their defense isn't that great. They're outscoring everybody. They're a little small. They've actually, I mean, well, one can debate. They lost a little bit of depth. They replaced it with Lonzo Ball, Ty Jerome, Lonzo Ball. You're going a little, you're going sideways there. But the Cavs, I go, why not? I'm not opposed to the 2 East teams, all right? Because we know the East this year, not very talented. Plus on top of that, the markets in the East. I mean, you kind of mentioned that there, Rob, where you're already talking about Milwaukee. There's Detroit, Orlando. I mean, even if you threw Indiana in there, it's like I don't. None of those markets are really
that with
drawing in a
Halliburton?
crowd whatsoever. So I'm not opposed to only having 2 East teams. But I don't understand why the Cavaliers get that spot over the Bucks just because they won 64 games last year. It's quite possible the Cavs could go right back to being a 5 seed this year, and the Bucks could take over part of that power vacuum. And maybe the Bucks are a team like the 2016-17 Celtics where they have an MVP candidate. They're in a weak Eastern Conference, and all of a sudden they find themselves as a top 3 seed halfway through the season. I see that happening with the Bucks, and I see the shift coming because we do this every year where we go, oh, here are the teams at the top last year. Clearly, they're going to be at the top next year. And then things go awry. I bet the Cavs are not going to be a top 1 team this year. I bet the Bucks will be a top 5 team. And I bet that Christmas Day game, we'll be looking at it going, why didn't they put Giannis on the schedule? Why are we watching the Cavs face the Knicks to start the day here at MSG? And again, Cleveland and Milwaukee, when it comes to the markets, they're not. I mean, I wouldn't say, oh, wow, Cleveland trumps Milwaukee as a market. I mean, they're relatively similar.
So I think my biggest thing is Milwaukee is the probably the biggest wild card you have in that outside of Boston, maybe, quite frankly, out of those top dogs in the East. I mean, when you look at Cleveland, they have been competitive now for 2 straight years. I think they're built a little bit better. And this is something I'm actually going to praise Adam Silver in the NBA because I'm going to applaud them. I think they're actually doing a better job this year. I think the better basketball is going to be played by Cleveland. And yes, while Giannis is a bigger name, I think at the NBA's fault, what they've been doing poorly last year is not promoting their product, which is actually so entertaining and so great. And what they've been doing is they've been just promoting these faces, these older faces that are playing on poor teams that are playing poor basketball. And I think as a product standpoint, nobody wants to watch a bad basketball game, right? That's the biggest thing on Christmas. You have a lot of viewers who don't normally watch basketball who are turning on the TV, whether they're opening presents or sitting down, eating brunch or whatever it might be on the background. You want to promote the best basketball you have. And I think the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the New York Knicks is a better shot at being better basketball than putting the Milwaukee Bucks on national TV just because of the name Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? And I think it's a pivot and it's new territory for the NBA. That's been a league that has been so predicated on just faces, and LeBron's on the best team and Curry's on the best team, and those are the 2 best players. It's easy. Durant, they're on the best teams, so it's easy to pump out that schedule. I think the NBA needs to look at, okay, what's the best basketball, right? Maybe it's not the biggest name, but it's our best product. We got to put that out. We got to show these fans that the league is actually in a phenomenal product standpoint. And I think that's Cleveland. I think Milwaukee, I agree Milwaukee could be good, but I think there's a lot of holes on their roster, and there's a chance they're like the 4 games over 500 by Christmas. And, you leave Giannis out, but I think Cleveland gives you the best shot at watching good basketball as Franco leaves to go check on the cat.
That cat, I mean, my goodness, that I'm glad we got some content out of it tonight, because otherwise it's just ruining Franco's night. So at least we can get something out of it, right? Because I don't know if Franco's getting too much love as we're hearing thumps in the background. I'm really hoping that's not there were no objects thrown, Franco, right? There were no objects thrown unless
I haven't checked. I haven't checked.
I got you with one right here, Franco. There you go.
Yeah, now I'm jealous. You want to see a friend?
Cat talk.
There we go.
Yeah, I'll get him back up here.
Oh, no.
Oh my God, it's being friendly to me. Or they're trying to bite my ear off.
Look at that. Late night.
Wait. I gotta bring this up. Wait, come on. I gotta bring this up. Wait.
All right, buddy.
Okay, I got it. What? Wait. Oh, this is if everybody has their cats, right? This is me and Meow as well on stream a couple weeks ago. Couple weeks ago, folks. There you go. That is so funny.
This is midnight activities right here.
This
is once the clock strikes midnight.
This is CTW After Dark. CTW After Dark. Let's just say it's like, maybe one day CTW After Dark, where we're we bring animals around and what is Franco doing right now? What's going on?
It's just
what is this?
It crawls
What's going
around
on over here?
It crawls around.
No, it's not. I don't think.
Just keep on. We'll.
This
keep
is
on
not.
going
No,
forward.
that's not. That can't be advertised to the ladies right there. That I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is.
What?
But there we go. Come on, there. Oh, yep. See, that's why. Look, that is Jaylen Brown right there. Jaylen Brown with the Black Rovers on. Jaylen Brown with the Black Rovers. But Franco, while you're taking care of the cat, we're going to take care of these comments right here by Bob Cousy, because Bob Cousy had a couple of comments to give out on particularly Jaylen Brown and the 25-26 Boston Celtics. He said this to the Boston Globe just before his 97th birthday. So happy birthday, Bob Cousy. It was a couple days ago on August 9th. Bob Cousy turned 97 years old. That is truly impressive. To make it to that age it is not a given. But Bob Cousy, he is still kicking strong, and he is still talking about the Boston Celtics. And this is what Bob Cousy had to say first on Jaylen Brown and the Celtics going into next season. In my judgment, Jaylen is not quite at the superstar level that Tatum is at. Can he carry the load by himself? I see a major rebuilding effort here. Jaylen certainly won't bring them to the promised land. Derek White's a good player, and he'll produce, and he'll be consistent, but his game doesn't lend itself to carrying a team. That's what Bob Cousy had to say about next year's team and Jaylen Brown leading the way. And then looking back to last season, the 24-25 season, and the Celtics, rather the Knicks eliminating the Celtics last season, here's what Cousy had to say. You have to be there to have a sense of what's going on, and I'm not. I get the impression that Missoula did a good job and had their attention. But in the playoffs, in my experience, the best team wins. There are upsets occasionally, but I have no understanding of how the Celtics could collapse, especially against the effing Knicks. As the Knicks proved in the next round, they were not a legitimate contender. So that's what Bob Cousy had to say right before his 97th birthday. That's what he had to say on the Boston Celtics as we return it. I was wondering what it might look like on Franco's end when we came back here, as this is just, folks, I want to also, before we hit on Bob Cousy and his comments before we close it out here, I just want to bring to light, we all have cats. They all run around. They all meow. They all knock things over. Sometimes we're on here. We're being professional. We're looking straight at the camera, giving a take, and our cats are just going nuts behind the scenes. And those are and it's almost at Franco just disconnected. Like, what was that? But see right there, that's the extremist view. That's the extremist view where normally usually got my cat down by my tripod. Oh, and as Franco completely disappears from the live stream here. Okay. Well, Rob, as we sit here, as we change sides, what were we just talking about? Bob Cousy.
Bob Cousy, there it is.
Bob Cousy's comments, all right? Particularly the one about Jaylen Brown, right? I there are some people who believe in Jaylen Brown, and there are some people who believe, it's going to be a little bit of an up and down experience for Jaylen Brown when he actually goes and assumes the role of number one superstar on the Boston Celtics. But looking at Bob Cousy, what Franco, is he back? Is he back in here?
I think he is. I think he just got hot mic'd.
Is he? Can we get? Wait, I won't Griffin him. Can we get a thumbs up, Franco?
Oh.
Can we get a thumbs up on this? Thumbs up? Nope, we don't have a thumbs up yet. I don't know about this. I don't know. We need the thumbs up from Franco to let him back in here. I have a putting his hands up in the air right now. That's not a thumbs. Can we get a thumbs up, Franco? It doesn't. We'll include him back into the program. We'll include him back into the program when we can. But looking at Bob Cousy's comments, particularly about Jaylen Brown and the Celtics, do Bob Cousy's comments come across as just something an old timer would say, or is there some validity to Bob Cousy's comments and what we may be saying, or rather what we may be seeing from the Celtics next season?
Listen, I think a lot of old timers in the NBA, especially the coverage around the NBA, a lot of them are poor and they're unfair to the current generation. I will say, Cousy, I think, brings up a valid question. Jaylen Brown. I mean, he's never, since the day he got drafted, he has never been the guy. He was drafted coming off the bench with the IT Celtics, right? Next year, his sophomore year, Kyrie and Hayward in the draftee of Jason Tatum show up. We know how that next year plays. He comes off the bench for Marcus Smart for a little bit, right? So he's never been in a situation in his career where he is the guy, right? The undisputed, undeniable best player on a team. He is the guy. I'm sorry, I'm looking over at Franco. And that is who Jaylen Brown is, right? This season. So I do think Bob Cousy is absolutely in the right to be like, listen, can he be that guy? Personally, I am asking myself the same questions, right? Brown is at times sporadic with the ball. He turns it over. He's a little inconsistent. He has shown signs of being weak in areas that superstars and number one guys, I should say number one guys, because I believe he is a superstar, need to be. So I think in the Jaylen Brown regards, he's absolutely right. And then in the New York Knicks regards, he nailed it there too. The Celtics, before Jason Tatum ruptured his Achilles, guys, were down by 9 points in a pivotal game 4 with nothing going for them, with about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left. They were not winning that basketball game. They were going down 3-1 with or without Jason Tatum. They got punked. They got embarrassed, like Cousy said, to the effing Knicks. So I do believe Cousy is absolutely right. And the last thing I want to say with Jaylen Brown, in terms of my opinion and my faith, he's gotten better every year. For last year was kind of the first year where didn't look better. I believe he's going to get better. I believe he's going to take that step, and I believe he's going to be
went on a ride. Sorry, Rob. That cat just went on a ride.
I think he's going to be a very serviceable number one player, and I think he's going to lead the Celtics in a manner that the Celtics need, and it's going to look different, and I'm excited for it. But Cousy, in his regards, I think he's right. Absolutely. I don't think that's out of the realm to ask that question. I think it's a very fair question. We've never seen it before out of Jaylen Brown. You can't make assumptions. You'd be guessing to make a statement about that.
And Franco can be got robot Franco right now. Like that sounds like a cat scratch right there. That's what it's relatable to. We got some cat ambiance with the cat scratches. That's what it sounds like when it's like, no, folks, that's
no.
That's when that Franco's giving us the ASMR of cats scratching on couches right now. That's what this sounds like.
Mic check.
Nope.
Nope. Is it just completely?
No. Hey. We're good. We good?
I want to watch that clip when that thing spear tackled my laptop and just completely wiped me off screen. But when it comes down to Jaylen Brown,
he's just gonna go on about Jaylen Brown. Hold up. First of all, are you and the cat okay right now? Is the cat okay? Can we get enough?
Yes.
Yes.
It's currently wrapping itself in more of my wires under the office desk. I'm just watching it and
you're on the clock then. Ticking time bomb, Franco.
Yeah, I'm just watching this thing just ruin all of my equipment that I've spent hard-earned working money for. Sam, if you ever watch this, this thing, it's gonna be the death of me.
Hashtag this league. Hashtag this thing. You know what?
But
what I was going to say about all this.
Jaylen Brown, Bob Cousy has. I mean, it's a statement that I wouldn't even say next season is the prove it year for Jaylen Brown, because obviously he is getting moved up to the starting one position and is going to be listed as the number one option for the Boston Celtics. But this roster isn't built around him. It is built around Jason Tatum still. They need to be able, if they want to give Jaylen Brown the best chance to prove that he is a superstar and is a player that is at a caliber to lead a team to a championship or deep into a playoff run without the help of Jason Tatum, you need to get a group of guys around him that all not only match and play in a coherent system around him and complement what he is capable of. You need players that are just as talented and can pad him a little bit more when there are those nights of inconsistency or those nights where he isn't being able to play up to a caliber where Jason Tatum would be able to, and be able to be the lead scorer and be able to take a game completely over. It's going to be much more of a emphasis of a group attack and also being able to get players performing in a level and caliber that is sustainable to compete in a weakened East that is open and fair game other than the top few seeds, but all it's about is making the playoffs for the Boston Celtics, and then once you're in a 7-game series, anything can happen.
Yeah, what I liked about what Bob Cousy said right there was the best team in the playoffs often wins, right? And it's a little off the conversation of Jaylen Brown, but it's on the conversation of the team last year and the team coming into this year. That's part of why I love basketball, right? Part of my love for basketball. I mean, there are many loves within the game of basketball for me, but one of them is the fact the better executing team, the team with more effort, playing with more effort, right? The smarter team will always win in the long run. And last year, that's what we saw happen every single playoff series, and that's what we saw happen in the Celtics-Knicks playoff series. The better team won, and it was evident on film. It was very evident who was the better rebounding team in that series. It was the New York Knicks. Which team was playing with more tenacity? It was the New York Knicks. Who was actually executing their game plan at a higher level, right? We knew the Celtics had more talent and maybe a better game plan in the long run, but who was actually executing their game plan to a T? It was the New York Knicks. And that's a point in the game of basketball, period. Is the best team usually over time in a 7-game series between two basketball teams in the NBA playoffs, the best team always wins. And we're going to find out who those best teams are next season when we see the Boston Celtics go out there on court. And of course, Jaylen Brown. Bob Cousy, look, I think he's basically relaying all of what we all think about the Celtics and what we already know about the Celtics. We know next season with Jason Tatum out of the lineup that the Celtics, when we talk about that promised land that Bob Cousy's talking about, we know the Celtics aren't going there. Okay, we know it, and that's where Bob Cousy too on Derek White. There seems to be a misconception of Derek White amongst fans out there, right? They see his points per game average. They see the fact, oh, he should be an all-star. He's the most efficient player in the game. But Derek White, he's not somebody you can just hand the ball to and, oh, Derek White's going to score a bunch of points and run the offense and blah, blah. He's a complementary player to stars. He's a supplemental player to stars. He's not going to be a guy, but that's also something we must look out for next year is how much can Derek White actually supplement that position, right, of being the guy at different times when, say, Jaylen hits the bench or maybe Jaylen Brown is having a less efficient game. That'll be a huge question with the Celtics next year. But regardless, yes, Franco, it's much of the same of what we already know when it comes to the Boston Celtics. We know next season when Jaylen Brown takes over, it's going to be a little up and down. I mean, even the team, I think in general, what we all have to remember, especially looking at the schedule releases from earlier, what we all have to remember is the fact teams. Last year, the Celtics, they got off the ground running because there was a lot of motivation there. That team had already been together for a year, and they won a championship. Next year, this will be a completely new Celtics team on top of the fact it's very normal in the NBA to have a team come along and need a couple weeks, a couple months even, to really find their rhythm and their stride. I mean, a la the Dallas Mavericks back in 2024, the Indiana Pacers last year, right? And maybe that could be the Boston Celtics next year. However, we will be here next year and this year, let's face it, this year, and even all the way up until the season starts this year on CTW Live. We will be on the CTW podcast, the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. And what else do we got? CTW Special Edition until Postgame comes back, right? We will be hitting on all of those shows in the future. And because of, I in all of those shows, everybody go check them out. Tune in. I mean, Franco, Cat, maybe making another appearance. I don't know if Franco's
hoping not.
Driven to the point of insanity at this point. Yep. Goodbye, folks. But that's going to do it for us here on CTW Live. Like I said, go tune in to the CTW podcast, the Celtics Nation Rise podcast, my Lord, Franco, and CTW Special Edition, along with CTW Live. Do not forget to subscribe, not follow, but subscribe to the YouTube channel, along with like and comment on the YouTube channel.
Or the
Also,
cat gets it.
go check out the Celtics Talk Weekly Instagram page, the Celtics Nation Rise Instagram page, and the Celtics.everyday Instagram page as well. And also the Celtics Talk Weekly Twitter. Go hit us up over
X.
on Twitter, along with X, folks. X. I'm
Same
living
thing,
in the old
same
days.
thing.
Okay, we're talking about Bob Cousy. We're talking old time ish right now. Okay, I'm stuck in the old days with Twitter, but that's gonna do it for us
And
here on.
MySpace.
Last night I was talking about Instagram, the old Instagram logo and the old
the
brown
color,
TV screen for YouTube. Those were the days, folks. Those were the days. But more days are coming up in front of us. We will have you guys covered on the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel. But that is going to do it for us here on CTW Live. I'm your host, Seamus Zarlingo. Alongside of me tonight, Rob Haytayan and Nick Franco. As we always say, with the music coming back, thank you all for watching, and go Celtics.